So congratulations, you've installed all the tools you needed to start exploring SQL. When you open your SSMS, the SQL Server Management Studio, you will see these options to the right, which is basically showing your server name here, which is your PC name. Then here you can see databases, security, replications, server object, and some other items here. If you expand these databases, you will see system database, database snapshots. Basically, these are the databases that I have created myself on this my SSMS, right? But we're going to create a database together so you can see how a database is being created and how you can actually perform CRUD, which is create, read, update, and delete. To get started, the first thing we're going to do is to create a database. And on SSMS, there are different ways you can actually create a database. Right here, you can either right click on this database and click on new database, or you can also use a query to create a database. So, but let's try the two approach. So I'm going to click on database, and on this database, I'll call it Analytic Extra 1, right? So the default owner of this database is you, and then you really don't need to do anything. You just click on OK. So by doing this, you will see that it has created a database for me called Analytic Extra. Okay, you can also create a database with a query by coming up here and click on New Query. So up here, you can see New Query. So when I click on New Query, then another interface is going to appear and you will have SQL Query 1 here, which is showing that I am about to write a query. But before you get started, you need to understand one aspect of CRUD, which is the first one, which is create. Create is talking about creating a database or a table. So when you are creating a database or you are creating a table, basically you need these major syntax. You can see the first one is create database, the second one is use, and the third one is create table. The one we are going to start with is creating our database, which is create database. If you look at an option of what I'm showing you here, you can see that we have a syntax called create database. Then we are going to have the name of the database that we want, right? It's a very straightforward query. You are going to write a syntax called create database, and you're going to put the name of the database that you want. So let me start by typing create database, right? Put it in cap, create database. So once I type this already understand that I am about to create a database, right? Now I'm going to put the name of the database that I want here. So I'm going to say my database name is Analytic Extra 2, right? Analytic Extra 2. That's the name of the database that I'm going to create, right? And I'm going to put a semicolon. So a semicolon just simply means that I'm trying to end this query right now. So I can actually highlight this and execute this query right now. I can run this query right now. There are two ways you can do this. You can either come here and click on execute, or you can also press F5 on your keyboard. So when I click on execute now, it's going to run this query, and you will see a message here that shows that this command has completed successfully, right? But you don't see anything that was done, right? You can also not see anything here. You can actually come here and click on refresh. And then once you refresh, you will see this database that we just created called Analytic Extra 2, right? So here we can also start using this database now and then start writing a query inside this database. But if you notice up here, we have which database are you currently using? So are you currently using which of these database? You can come here and select the database that you want to use, or you can also use a functions to do that, because you should not write a query inside your master, right? That query should always be inside the database of whatever you want to write your query. So right now I'm inside master. So I can either come here and select Analytic Extra 2 because that's the database I want to start using now, or I can also use a query to do that by typing a query called use, right? Use, then I'm going to put the name of my database, Analytic Extra 2, which is this one, right? So use this database. I'm going to put a semicolon at the end of this database as well. So use this database. So once I run this query as well, and I click F5 or I click execute, command completely successful, and you will see that this has changed to Analytic Extra 2, which means I am currently in this database right now. There are so many things you can do with query, and you can also do manually, right? You can either go here and select the database you want, or you use a query to kind of create a database. Now, when this comes to creating a table, it's a bit different from creating a database. You know, when we are creating a database, we just type the syntax, we put the name of the database. When we also want to use the database, we just put a syntax called use, and we put the name of the database. But when you are creating a table, you have to use a syntax called create table. Create table. Then you put the name that you want to call your table. What's the name that you want to call your table? Then you open brackets or your parentheses, you open and close it. Then you now signifies each columns you want to have in the table, how many columns you want to have in the table, and then you also put the data type of those columns. You know, it is also very important you put a data type. For those that are familiar with Excel or some other tools, you know that each of your columns usually have a data type. So you need to signify a data type you want for that particular column. So if I go back to my SQL query, I can come here and write another query called create table, right? Create table. Create table. Now here, the next thing I'm going to do is signify my table name, right? What is your table name? What name did you want to call your table? Let's say, for example, I want to create a table based on the people that are watching me now. Let's say viewers. I want to create a table called viewers, right? And I want to have the data of people that are currently watching this course right now. So I'm going to call the name of my table viewers. Viewers. And then once I call these viewers, the next thing you're going to do is to open a bracket, right? And then you can also kind of close a bracket like this. So what I did basically is I open a bracket and I also close the bracket. And I can start imputing the columns names and also the column data type that I want. So which data do I want to gather in this table? People that are watching this course right now, I want to gather a data on full name. So I want to know your full name. So I'm going to type full name, right? Then once I type full name, I'm going to specify what data type did I want to give this full name. So there are different type of data type, and then how you can apply them to a column. But for now, I want to use a varchar. So varchar is just a type of data type that is used to signify a character, right? A character. Another thing you can also do is you can limit the number of characters you want people to put inside this particular column. So I can say for full name, I don't want people to type more than, let's say, 60 characters, right? That is a full name. Then I can put a comma and go to the next column and also put another columns that I want to kind of collect. I also would like to collect email, and I'll also make email a character, a varchar, and I'll limit that to 60 as well, or let me say 50, because I don't know, your email should not be more than 50 actually. So I also want to gather another data called age. I want to collect age, and for age, I want to make it integer, right? That's the data type I want to use for age. And I also want to collect, what should we collect? Let's collect total views, right? How many number of times have you seen any of my videos on my YouTube channel? How many times have you viewed a particular course on this channel? So let's say total view. Total view, we also want to see your total view, and we want to store this in decimal number, right? We want to say, okay, maybe you view this number this so time, right? And then we also want to say that this guy is not null, right? So I'm also putting the conditions aside from putting a data type. I'm also saying that this particular column is not null. So I think I'm fine with this. I can leave my bracket like this and say I have created a table. I've created a table, and this is a table, right? So I can go ahead and run this query right now, and it's going to create a table for me. So let me come here and click on execute. By clicking on execute, this command has run successfully. Remember, we are inside Analytic Extra database, and we've created a table inside this database. So if I come here and expand this database, and I also expand tables, I should see the new tables that I created called viewers. Can you see that? dbo.viewers, right? So inside the database, you have tables, you have views, you have security, you have different things, right? But we are actually looking at tables right now. And the table I created is called dbo.viewers. There is also another ways you can create a table. Just like I said, most of the things you can achieve with query, you can also do them with manual approach. For example, I can come here and right-click on table and click on new, and I'll create new table. Once I do that, it's going to bring this interface for me where I can kind of type the column name. I can put the column names of what I need. Then I can put the data type. So let's say, for example, I want to create a full name. So I can come here and say full name, right? Full name. Then I can come here and also select the data type. So if you're just getting started with creating a table, you can also use this approach as well to create your table. So I can come here and create var child. I want to limit it to 50, and then I want to allow null, or I want to say it's not null, so I can say allow null. I can also come here and create another column called email, and then I'll come here and also make emails a var child, the same var child that I use. And then I'm also come here and create age, and I'll create age and use int for age. I'm looking for I, and then I'm using int, and then here total view, right? Total view. And then I can also come here and select what I want for this total view. So for example, I pick decimal number when I was creating this table. So you can come here and also select decimal number and say this does not allow null. So once you're done with creating this table, then you come here and you click on save table. And then you give your table a name. Let's say test manual viewer. So I'm going to call this manual underscore viewer, right? Manual viewer table. And I'm going to click OK. So once I click OK and also refresh this, you will see that I have two tables now. I have the viewer and I have the manual viewer, right? So let me go back to my database and then select this query. So you remember I was creating a table here, and then I have another query here. So on my query, I have created a table, which means I have performed my first C in the CRUD, which is creating a database and also a table.